Hello, today I am going to help you draw a maple leaf. So this is the first time I've ever done a maple leaf and I'm hoping that it turns out well. I've looked at a picture of an actual maple leaf and I think I've broken it down to a simple way that we can do this. The first thing I want you to do, this is your stem. So we're going to come up and the stem is just a big long line. I'm going to make mine a little bit fat before it turns into just its little stem self. There we go. So it's kind of got a triangle at the bottom. It doesn't have to. If you want to go simpler, you don't have to go that route. And then I'm going to bring some little lines straight out to the side, and I'm going almost to the edge of my paper. And this doesn't have to be totally straight. Mine just happens to be. This one's going to be a little less straight. So that's going to be the bottom little lifeline of my leaf. Next, we're going to draw kind of a V. So from this same point that we just originated, let's go straight up to the side of our paper. And then same thing on the other side. So I'm going to just go, it's hard to write with the side of this Sharpie, sorry y'all. I'm going to go straight up this way, almost to where I want this leaf point to end. So that is the basis for our leaf. Now to help us make the next shapes, I want you to come and put a little dot kind of in the center of those two V's. And then let's also put a dot in the center of each of these. And what that's going to do is help us know where to start our little kind of leafy junctions. So let's just go ahead and start. This V is going to be really wide. So we're going to make this shape come down to the point of that leaf. So that's pretty simple. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And leaves don't have to be completely symmetrical. So don't worry if yours isn't feeling very symmetrical. And then at the bottom here, we'll kind of come down and we'll curve down and back up. And then we'll go make the tip of that leaf. And these can be much scragglier. Mine aren't very scraggly. They need to be a little more scraggly. All right. So now let's make this top leaf. So start at your little dot and come out and kind of just make, kind of go in a little bit and then come out. We'll make a little point, and they don't have to be super symmetrical, so don't worry if yours aren't. Then we're gonna make kind of, let's start like at the point up here at the top, and we're gonna make a scraggly peak like that, and then another very scraggly peak. And they don't have to be ultra symmetrical. So then, between these two spaces, let's also make another scraggly peak. So I'm trying to be very loose with my hand and not really go draw perfect lines, because this is a leaf, and down here it looks a little too perfect. I don't want that. All right, so for our next ones, let's kind of do something similar. So we're gonna do that same scraggly line that goes out from there, and then from here we'll do another one, and then we'll do our little leaf peak coming down from the tip of this leaf, and then we'll do kind of a scraggly little arch in there. And same over here. So it's really starting to look pretty leafy now. And we just have this one side left. So what did we do first? Let's come and make this scraggly V there. And then we'll also make one over here. This is going to be super scraggly because my hand doesn't like to go in this direction. There we go. All right, and so then we'll come to the point of our leaf and we'll make a scraggly another little one there and come down and be super scraggly over here. And then we just need to connect these two. So super scraggly again. It's a fall leaf. And we can make those. And there we have it. So that is our maple leaf shape. And if you want to go ahead and put those leaf veins in, you can. I will show you how I'm going to do mine. So I'm going to kind of go to the point of this leaf and then to the point over here. And then for this one, I'm not going to put too many veins here in the super center, but I am going to go kind of up to here and over to here, and maybe just connect to those pointy parts and give it a little bit of flair. There we go. And then same here. I'm going to come up kind of in this chunk of leaf here. And then we can go into that little pointy part. And our lines don't have to be straight. They can be very irregular. And I think this will still look really nice. And then over here, I'm going to turn my paper because my hand is just not down with making some of these lines. And then let's go over to this little pointy section here. I kind of missed over here. I'm sorry about that. And then I'll add another one. So then I just have this one very last section. So I'm going to come here. And then also up here. And you can be the judge. You can decide if you feel like you need more of those little veins coming up this way. But you certainly don't have to add them. It's whatever you're feeling on your leaf. And I think I am done with the drawing part. So now we can get into the painting. All right, so now it's time to paint this beautiful maple leaf. And I'm using watercolors here, so I'm just using a palette of 8. And I am just gonna paint this leaf whatever colors feel good to me. Think of every fall leaf you've ever seen and every color you've ever seen, and you can paint this however you'd like. The first thing I'm gonna do is put down a little coat of water. I want my paper inside the leaf to be damp. So I'm doing just water. Just a light coat. It doesn't have to be soupy. It can just be a very light coat of water. But if I put water down first before I paint, my paint is going to have some boundaries and it's going to know where to stop, and that's going to be really helpful for me. We can always go back and make those boundaries larger if we want to. I'm just filling this in still with some water. And I didn't tape my paper down this time. You may be wondering why. It's because I am using this little square piece of paper. I'm not really sure if I'm going to paint the background. I may be leaving my background blank. So that's why I decided not to tape. Alright, so I think that I have most of the leaf filled in. I can't tell 100% because it's water, but I think I'm pretty close. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in with like whatever colors I want. I'm going to start with red because I just love red on these autumn leaves. And you can see, since we already have water down, we can just tap that red in and it sticks straight in that leaf. It doesn't go outside because we planned it this way. So I'm just going to paint parts of my leaf with this red because I do know that I want to come in with some other colors, some other fall leaf colors. And I'm just loving watching this paint travel across that water that I have already put on the paper. Oh, it's so pretty. I just love it. All right. So I'm putting on a great deal of red here. This edges here didn't get quite enough red in them, so I'm coming back with the red. Just kind of whatever colors you're feeling. I'm going to move into another color now. I think I'm going to go into yellow. I could use orange, that would be fine too, but my choice is yellow. So I'm going to go in right where I already have this red, and I'm just going to tap some of this yellow because I want it to kind of blend in whatever way it's going to blend, and I don't mind if it doesn't do exactly what I think in my mind it should do. I'm gonna paint wet next to wet, and I'm just gonna be okay with whatever happens here. And I'm gonna add a little more water because I think this red has dried a bit. And I can just kind of sweep it over the leaf. Look how pretty that's starting to look. I enjoy watching these colors together. And if you're not getting good blending like this on your colors, you may need to add a little more water to your paper. So try that if you're not getting these lovely blendy colors. Sometimes that can be what's going on. If you're new to watercolor, you might not be used to having to add water to your paint. And you might just feel like dipping in that paint and slapping it on the page. But I want you to try adding water to your page instead of paint and kind of see what happens. So I want to keep both of these colors. I want to keep the red and I want to keep some yellow. So I don't necessarily want everything to just turn orange. So that's why I'm doing this little method where I'm not really truly blending them. I'm kind of just touching the paints to one another and letting them do their own blending. And you can see from how shiny my paper is that it's still very, very wet. Thinking there's not quite enough yellow up here. Let me go put a couple of spots. So my red over here has dried a little bit, and that's all right. We can come put a little more water on top of it and kind of just re-wet it so that when we come in with another color, it blends nicely. And move this over so I can reach this little tiny tip of this leaf with my brush. All right. I want some more red over there. That's not quite red enough for me. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to drop a little bit of that yellow in here. Oh, that's so pretty. All right. So this part down here, we can see it's definitely not wet, it's dried. So I'm going to add some water to it and just guide that water along the boundary of my leaf so that my colors know where to go when I put them on my paper. Now I'm going to get some more of that yellow and just dab it right in there to that red. And if you want to use other colors, please feel free. You could use greens, browns, purples, any color that's speaking to you. You can also use colors where you wouldn't really find that color on a leaf in nature. Just because your painting is inspired by nature, it doesn't mean it has to be something you would find in nature. So don't hesitate to kind of go out on your own. All right. I'm going to add yellow down here. And I am just really enjoying adding these bright, happy fall colors. That's just bringing me joy. Hope it's bringing you some joy too. And anywhere I see that my paint is wet, I'm just gonna go dab a little more of that yellow in there because I want this leaf to really look splotchy. Really splotchy is what I'm going for. There's a lot of water sitting right here. I'm gonna suck a little bit of that up with my brush and bring some of that orangey red down here. I guess I need to also paint my stem, don't I? I think I'm going to add some brown splotches since this is a nice fall leaf. Let's add some browns. Woo! Brown is not a color I usually love, but in a fall leaf, I feel like it just belongs. It goes really, really nicely. Some water in and kind of swoop it up into this yellow. I'm not a big fan of these brown splotches. I don't like the way that looks. So I'm just going to water them down a little bit and bring that brown up into my yellow. And I want to stress that whatever you're doing to paint this leaf is fine. You don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. Definitely do your own thing. I think I might even put like a little bit of green in here. Let's do that. maybe I'll mix it with yellow. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna mix up some green. Oh, there's white in there. Okay. Hold please. So I have green over here. So I'm gonna mix green with some yellow to make like a yellow green. So I'm mixing these two together to make a kind of a brighter green. And then I'm gonna stick a little bit of that in here. Here and there and everywhere. Wherever I feel like I might want it. I don't think I really want any green in my red parts. I'm just gonna keep it in these yellow and brown parts. Let's see what happens. I'm just gonna dab it in, just barely touching my brush to the paper. So this way we kind of have some interesting little blotches in our leaf. I'm gonna get just some water. I got a hair hanging out of my brush. All right. So I'm gonna get just some water and go back in and just dab that down. And I am truly loving the way this looks. I think it looks really nice. I'm just sort of re-wetting this. I want to throw a little bit of salt on this leaf because salt can give things just a very natural, very interesting look. When the salt goes into the watercolor, and this only works if your watercolor is wet, when the salt goes into it, it dissolves a little bit. And then when it recrystallizes, it gives us these very interesting kind of window pane looking patterns. All right, let's add just a little bit more of this bright, gorgeous red to these leaf tips. I really like it. And I just water it down a little so that when I throw salt on it, it's really going to just hydrate that salt. So the salt will dissolve, and then as it recrystallizes, it'll give us some interesting little patterns. And do a couple of little flicks. Some little paint speckles. I'm gonna do them in, do some orange paint speckles here. Woo, that's nice. I'm loving it. Speckles really work better if you tap your brush. So let's get some green. This is looking great. Okay, and I'm gonna do some yellow speckles also. It's just yellow. I'm absolutely loving it, so I'm gonna add a few more yellow speckles. All right, so now we're going into salt, and this is just regular table salt. I'm gonna put a little tiny bit in my hand, so we don't need much at all. And then I'm gonna pinch it between my fingers. And I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit of salt where my paint is wet. You don't wanna put too much salt or it'll end up just making a weird salty cake on your paper. Bam, one last little piece of salt. So now I'm done, and I am going to allow this to dry.